Good morning and thanks so much for joining in. You're watching Ask Profit on NDTV Profit. My name is Mathew and with me is Smriti Chaudhary. We'll take you through the next half an hour or so of trade. This show is geared up to get you answers to all of your stock-related questions. So if you're tuning in on any one of our social media platforms, then use the comment section to send us questions, or in fact, you can send us questions on the WhatsApp number that should be flashing at the bottom of your screen. For now, let's very quickly turn to how the markets are faring, and it's a bit of a muted start to trade in the equity markets here in India, but this is more or less what you're seeing across the globe. You're seeing a bit of a risk-off sentiment playing out globally, and you have the Nifty 50 that's trading very close to the low point of the day, down about 0.4%. And in fact, let's also take a look at the broader markets to see how it's going. It's a little bit of a mixed bag here. So you have the mid-cap index that's trading with cuts of about 0.5%, but you have the small-cap index that's trading more or less flat, but also at the low point of the day. Let's also very quickly take you through the advanced decline ratio, because that will give you a sense of what the market breadth is like, and you have more declines at this stage than advances. That was, of course, a different scenario at the start of trade today. Among the key indices to focus in on, let's look at the top performers. In fact, you have the IT index that's the weakest performer. In fact, most indices are losing ground, but you also have realty as a pack that's down in trade today, down about 0.9%, and you have metals also that are underperforming. The only two sectors that are doing reasonably okay or that are holding out in green territory are the energy and the media index. Lots happening in those spaces as well. But let's jump straight into the focus for the day. And Smriti's got the focus. It is Asian Paints, Smriti.
Yes, and it is the biggest loser on the Nifty 50 today. Now, this comes on the back of Grasim launching its paint business, and they've launched it in such a big way that it has become now we're yet to see this sort of intense competition in the paints markets. Just to give you an understanding of what the brokerages are thinking of at this point, it's kind of a mixed bag out there. So, for example, there's Jefferies that says that on the paints business, it's given an underperform rating to Asian Paints with a target price of 2,500. Then Paints has never seen such a massive capacity built up. Now, in one of the notes I read that Grasim's capacity, Alex, is combined capacity of its second, third and fourth player in the paints business. So that's how big Grasim's paints capacity will be like. Now, if you look at CLSA, it says it has also lowered its target price from 3,017 to 2,425. It says that in the shorter term, it will affect the growth and the margins for the Asian Paints business. But in the longer term, it will probably continue to perform and continue to grow. Now, however, there'll be intense competition in terms of retaining dealers and customers. It has cut the FY26 estimates of to 8% growth, and for 26 to 10%. Now, ROE is also supposed to fall to 26.9% in FY26 from 32.7% in FY24. That's pretty much the picture, not a rosy picture for Asian Paints. Now, I'll bring in our guests for today. We have Gaurang Shah of Geojit Financial Services and Rajesh Palvia of Axis Securities joining in. Welcome to both of you, and thanks for taking the time out.
Thank you.
Now, Gaurang, I'll come to you on Asian Paints. Intense competition from Grasim, and we've seen brokerages pretty much not as constructive on Asian Paints as they were before. What's your view on this?
Thank you, Smriti, for having me on the show, and morning to all of you all. So before I comment on Asian Paints, because of this new competition in form of Grasim that has entered the market, let me give you two very recent instances, similar but a different sector. I think you and Alex will definitely remember that Eicher Motor was under pressure because of Royal Enfield motorcycle. There were two new entrants. One was in form of Bajaj Triumph, and the other was in form of Hero Harley. They launched 400 and 440cc motorcycles in that segment where there was huge dominance of Royal Enfield RE motorcycles, which is manufactured by Eicher Motors. Stock got hammered from 3,500 to 3,200 or thereabouts, and then the stock has recovered. Then there was a new IPO from Tata Group after decades called Tata Technologies. KPIT Technologies got hammered because this new listing was happening. It went to 1200 or below and has recovered. What I'm trying to say, Smriti, is that competition, new entrant coming in any sector is always very good, at least for the consumers like you and me, because it brings in fair pricing and better products at every level. India is a huge market for relevant sectors, whether it is going to be paint, whether it is going to be cement, and even cement. When Adani entered cement, most of the cement companies got hammered because everybody thought that it's going to be a big bang competition and market share is going to be lost. So we fundamentally, from a long-term point of view, we are still maintaining our buy call on Asian Paints. Our targets are somewhere close to about 3,300. News-based knee-jerk reaction like 4% down today should not nervous you in terms of your long-term investment. In case if you are willing to buy it and waiting for an opportunity like this to come through, I think it's a great opportunity. Paint sector is directly associated with real estate sector as far as new order market is concerned. And, people do get their homes renovated and painted again. That's also a reorder or replacement market as we call it, which is going to be huge. Asian Paints is not only present in India, but it's got its operations in overseas market also. Knee-jerk reaction like this should not dampen the spirits of long-term investors.
Fair point. It has, in fact, over the year-to-date period, lost quite a bit of ground. So, Gaurang, what you're saying in terms of a buying or accumulation opportunity perhaps exists for this counter on the fundamentals. Let's jump straight into the questions. We've got the first one coming in from Ved. Ved is writing in from Hyderabad and asking about Suzlon. Now, he bought it at a time when it was a penny stock, but it isn't a penny stock anymore. In fact, he'd bought at sub 4 levels and he's got as many as 4,000 shares. So he's making quite a bit of money on this one. The question, Rajesh, is to you, whether he should hold or exit completely, or should he partially exit his holding?
Morning. So after a long consolidation, stock managed to give breakout on monthly as well as on the yearly chart. Looking at the overall structure for medium-term perspective, it's on the bullish side as the stock is comfortably holding about 39 mark. So till the stock is holding about 39, I think he should hold the position as the overall structure for medium-term is on the bullish side. And we believe that, once the stock manages to cross about 47, 48 mark, then possibly this rally can extend towards 58 to 65 kind of level also. So hold the position with stop loss of 39.
All right. Next up, we have a question from Vijay from Bangalore, and they're talking about NHPC. They bought at slightly elevated levels of 107. It's currently trading around 92 levels. Gaurang, this has been a multi-bagger. We've seen the run-up in PSU stocks, but do you think there's more of an upside from a longer-term perspective in NHPC, or should you maybe get out of the stock?
So, Smriti, I'll comment on the sector that is power generation. And post-listing, there were two stocks, NHPC and SJBN. They languished below the IPO price for a very, very long period of time. Post this listing and of course the changes that the government made in terms of power generation sector, all companies which are associated with power generation, where we have coverage, likes of NTPC, Tata Power, CSE, have moved up to a very decent level, and so is the case for NHPC and SJBN. Now, no specific comments in terms of buy, sell and hold, but the future for power generating, power transmission and power equipment looks very, very strong because the government has planned huge capex to the tune of almost 500 gigawatts in the next 3 to 5 years. And most of that is going to be solar and wind. So all power generating companies are going to get benefited because of that. Won't comment specific because we don't have coverage on NHPC.
Okay, so there is another question coming in from Pranay, and he's asking about IREDA, which is listed not too long back, and NTPC also in the power space, of course. So this is thermal power generation, right? He's bought both, and he says that he's seeing a loss on this. I'm guessing that he didn't get in at IPO level, Gaurang. What would you say about the fundamentals of these two counters, though?
IREDA is more of a company which finances renewable power plants like solar and wind, Alex. we had a subscribe recommendation from a long-term point of view on IREDA, but that floor of IPO was 36 rupees. Correct me if I'm wrong, Alex. From that level, the stock went up to 200 rupees, and now it has corrected to somewhere close to about 150. I don't know what level this gentleman has invested in, but in case if it is from a long-term point of view,
I have a clarification. In fact, while I was asking you the question, I asked him, and he has said that he's bought at levels of 168 for IREDA. The stock is currently at a lower circuit today, and it's trading at around 150. And NTPC he has bought at levels of 344. How does that change your perspective?
So I am assuming that these investments are from a long-term point of view. So when IREDA 5% down today, maybe it can possibly come down because in terms of valuation, it looks a little bit stretched. Even at current levels, though it has corrected from 200 rupees per piece IREDA, Alex. Maybe if it comes down, if he's got investable amount, depending upon that IPO note that we had covered, he can possibly add at lower levels from a long-term point of view. NTPC too, Alex, we have a fundamental coverage from a long-term point of view. So don't get disheartened if you bought good stocks, even if it is at an elevated level. Provided you have a long-term time horizon, I don't think it's going to have any kind of huge meaningful impact on your capital that you had invested.
All right. Next up, we have a question from Sadanand, and they're talking about Tech Mahindra. They say they've bought 1 lakh shares and they're sitting on an 18% profit on the stock. Now, from a long-term perspective, would you suggest Tech Mahindra, or they're saying they should they switch to Intellect Design? Gaurang, this is for the longer term.
Yeah, so I'm sure I wouldn't get the level at which this investment was made, Smriti, but fundamentally we have coverage on Tech Mahindra. One of those companies which had a huge dominance of one large player, that is BT. That dominance has now become a thing of the past, and they have added some very decent large clients to their client list. In terms of performance of IT sector, Smriti, we believe starting 1st April 24, that is the new financial year, slowly, steadily, earnings are going to get improved for the IT sector, and that might possibly translate into re-rating of some of the stocks. So if you are in for a long-term point of view, Tech Mahindra is what we would recommend to hold.
We've got Parveen, who bought Larsen & Toubro about 3 years back at levels of 1,100. Quite the attractive level to buy at, because the stock is currently trading just shy of 3,460. In fact, it hit a high of 3,708 just about a month or so ago, and it has seen a bit of a dip since then. She's looking to hold for another 6 months. She's got 900 shares. Rajesh, the question is, should she hold on? Should she book some profits? What level should she watch out for?
The overall structure for L&T is on the bullish side, though there was some corrective moves since last couple of weeks. But still, if we analyze the near-term to short-term structure, stock is now again holding above to 50-day moving average and now trying to penetrate 20-day moving average also. Looking at the near-term structure, we believe that till the stock is holding above 3,300 mark, I think there is no as such worry in terms of near-term trend. Long-term trend is on the bullish side. So I think if they can hold it for a longer-term perspective, there is no as such worry. I think that trend is likely to remain on the bullish side, and possible target we can see towards 3,600, 3,700 also for L&T. But for near-term perspective, I think they can trail now a stop loss towards 3,300. Till these levels are intact, they can hold on their position. On the higher side, once stock manages to cross above 3,550, possible target we can see on towards 3,600 to 3,700 also on the coming months.
All right, we'll slip into a short break, and after the break, we'll take all your questions. So keep writing to us. See you on the other side. Welcome back. You're watching Ask Profit. Let's quickly dive into the questions. This one's coming from, this one's on South Indian Bank, and this is from Karthik from Visakhapatnam. Now they're talking about they already have shares and they bought at a price of 28 per piece. Now there's a rights issue. There's a rights issue that's coming out for South Indian Bank, and they want to know if they should subscribe to it. Now Gaurang, from what I understand, the rights issue is at 22 rupees per share. So would you suggest them buying into this?
This is South Indian Bank that we are talking about?
Yes.
So, I mean, again, from a long-term point of view, this is one bank, Smriti, that was a laggard between 15 and 20 rupees. Frustrated a lot of investors, but post the earnings that were seen in Q2 and Q3, there has been a meaningful turnaround. We have a positive coverage on South Indian Bank from a long-term point of view. So if you want to go for this issue from a long-term point of view, we would recommend to do that.
Fair point. We've got Parambrata who's writing and asking about two frontline companies, HDFC Bank as well as ITC, from a medium-term perspective. I'm not really sure what that is, but I would assume that this is more than a year. Gaurang, from that perspective, would you suggest a fresh entry on the fundamentals?
Well, I would definitely. HDFC has been one of those, testing times, Alex. Post the merger, we all were excited on the street. Then there was some report on margin pressure. Stock corrected. There was a little bit of downward commentary in terms of margins from the management side post the third quarter numbers. But let us not, wipe out the entire history of HDFC Bank. Being the short-term issues or speed breakers, we are maintaining a positive coverage on HDFC Bank and a target of about 2,000 rupees from a long-term point of view. So and so forth for ITC. Again, one of those FMCG companies, a large cap, but was in a hibernation for a pretty long period of time. Has come out of that. Then there was a news flow about British American Tobacco wanting to offload the stake. The hotel business demerger didn't go down well. Stock has corrected. We are maintaining targets of 465 to 470 and 90C from a long-term point of view.
Next up, we're talking about Nestle. Now, Swaroop has written to us on YouTube and they want to buy into the stock. From a longer-term perspective, we'll take a short-term perspective on this from a point of view that if this is a good time to enter the stock or should he wait. But first, Gaurang, tell us from the longer-term perspective for Nestle.
Again, a company, an MNC company, Smriti, who's been in India for a pretty long period of time, multi-decades, has got some real strong, powerful brands and has dominance in possibly across product offering. From a long-term point of view, yes, we would advise to invest in Nestle.
Right. And Rajesh, what are the levels that you would suggest, buying levels for Nestle?
So overall, stock structure is in bullish side. Series of higher top, higher bottom formation on daily, weekly chart time frame that clearly shows there is the sustained buying action is taking place in the stock. We have seen some bit of correction in last couple of months, but looking at the near-term, short-term structure, 2400, 2450 is the right level again to buy and accumulate this stock. Stock is has formed a support base around those levels, and some pullback action is taking place. So I think if you get any opportunity towards 2450, that's the attractive level again to re-enter in this stock. On the higher side, once stock crosses about 2650, then possible target we can see towards 2800 to 2900 also. Overall structure is bullish, so buy and dip should be your strategy. 2450 is the right level again to re-enter in the stock.
Okay, fair point. Naman Deora from Kolkata is asking this next question, and a couple of counters here, Gaurang, for you to consider. One is Tata Steel and the other is IRB Infra. Now, I'm looking the year to date, and this is 2024 for IRB, and it's up quite significantly in that time frame. He's asking which of these two, between Tata Steel and IRB, is the better option for an SIP kind of an approach to accumulate.
So, Alex, between Tata Steel and IRB, well, I'll keep my comments restricted to Tata Steel because that is where we have a coverage. On IRB, we don't have a coverage, but I can give him an option in terms of alternative investment idea in construction infrastructure. So Tata Steel, yes, we have a fundamental coverage. And on the infra side, we like names like NCC Limited, PNC Infra, and KNR Constructions. I would suggest instead of putting all his money into one particular sector or one company, you can go 50-50. Select any of these three companies that I have mentioned in infra, and definitely Tata Steel in metals.
All all right. Next up, we have a question from Kevin. They've bought 100 shares of UPL at an average price of 630, so slightly elevated levels, Rajesh. But we've seen a downturn in the stock. Even if you look at the last 1 year performance, it's down about 31%. Now, Kevin wants to know if he should maybe get out of the stock if there's not a substantial upside in this.
Yes, Pratik, clearly stock is in downtrend. Stock is moving in falling channel, downsloping channel in monthly chart. That clearly shows that, medium-term structure is also bearish. Stock is trading below to all its long-term, short-term moving averages, series of lower top, lower bottom formation. So these all aiding that, on a technical ground, yes, stock is in bearish trend, and we may see, whatever pullbacks we are getting in this stock is meeting to the supply pressure on higher side. Until the stock not crosses above 550, 560 zone, it may remain under pressure only. Looking at the near-term structure, if it breaks below 470 mark, then possible downside we can see towards 450, 440 also. So I think if you get any opportunity in pullback towards 500, 50 kind of zone, you should try to exit from this stock, as the trend is still in the weaker side. Only if it crosses above 600 mark, then only the trend will turn on the bullish side. Until we may see a supply pressure, whatever pullbacks we are getting in the near term as well as in the short term.
Okay, Rajesh, another one for you. This one's on Alok Industries. And we've got Selva Pandi from Madurai, Tamil Nadu, who's asking about this counter. He's bought at levels of 16.5. The stock is currently trading very close to the 30 rupee mark. He's asking whether to book partial profits or to hold for upside.
So I think my advice would be to trail your stop loss now to around 28 rupees. That's the stop loss at this moment to book partial profit. If it breaks below 28, then book some partial profit, because if we look at the near-term structure, some consolidation took place and now again stock broke out of its consolidation range. So 28 should be your stop loss to take a view of partial profit booking. On the higher side, of if stocks crosses about 32, then possible up move we can see towards 36, 38 also. Though stock has rallied, some corrective move is taking place. So we believe that if it's not break below 28, possible upside we can see towards 36 also in this stock.
All right. That's all the time we have on this edition of Ask Profit. Thank you, Rajesh and Gaurang, for joining and for answering so many questions for us. And viewers, if we were not able to take your questions today, we'll definitely try and take them tomorrow. So join us tomorrow at 11:30 a.m. But for now, there's lots more coming up on NDTV Profit.